Hello everybody, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis. Welcome to episode 6 of my Grey Knight Codex analysis series. Today we're going to be taking a look at the heavy support section, the final original section of a codex before we get into the Lords of War and formations in the next and final episode, which will be up next week. The heavy support section is generally jam-packed with lots of cool stuff. In Space Marine armies, this is where you find Land Raiders, Vindicators, Whirlwinds, Predators, Devastators, Centurions. Grey Knights, not so much. There are 5 units in here, but 3 of them are all Land Raiders. So there's 3 units in here, and then you can just pick which Land Raider you want. This is okay in Grey Knights because of the Nemesis Strike Force detachment. You're allowed to have less elite or, sorry, not elite, fast attack or heavy support options because the detachment doesn't want you taking lots of them. So it doesn't matter as much as it might in other codexes, although the variety is always appreciated. Doesn't fit the law though. Right, so the first unit is the Purgation Squad, the equivalent of your Devastators. They are 110 points and are Tactical Marines. Weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness 4, 1 wound, initiative 4, 1 attack, leadership 8, 3 up save. Justicar has an extra attack, extra point of leadership, and is a character. So you're paying, I think it's 20 points a dude, and then you're paying a little bit, you're paying 20 points a guy, and then you're paying 10 points for your Justicar. As usual, you get 4 dudes and a Justicar baseline. They come with power armor, a storm bolter, Nemesis Force Sword, frag, crack grenades, and psych out grenades. We talked about all of those in previous episodes. The link to the playlist will be in the description below if you have missed anything so far. They have the Aegis, They Shall Know No Fear. They are a level 1 Brotherhood of Psychers who can combat squad. They also have Night Vision, which is kind of useful in early or late game, depending if you want it. Preferred Enemy Demons and Purity of Spirit. They also know Banishment, and they know Hammerhand from Santic Demonology. That is pretty much par for the course. As a shooting unit, obviously Hammerhand is not as useful as it could be. But if you look at Santic Demonology, what else would you really want? There's not much really, because everything's quite short range. The only one I can think of is possibly Sanctuary, to give them a little bit extra protection while in a protracted firefight, but maybe that would be a bit too strong, so I understand why Hammerhand is there. You may take an additional 5 dudes for 20 points for one, meaning a full-size squad sets you back to 10 points. Up to 4 may take special weapons. You have the Incinerator, the Side Cannon, and the Silencer. We've talked about those before. They replace your Force Sword, so you cannot run them very aggressively, like Incinerator Force Weapon. It will be broken, which is why you're not allowed to do it. This is probably the reason why Hammerhand is still viable on Purgation Squads, because if you go up to 10, take 4 special weapons, and then Combat Squad, you've then got 5 dudes doing basically nothing, who can then go up the board and be a nuisance and have Hammerhand. Any Purgator may take a melee weapon, so of course you can customize them with any Nemesis weapon you want. Of course, any dude with a special weapon will not have a Nemesis weapon to take. The Justicar may take melee weapons and or special issue war gear. If you're going to do the combat squad approach as I've suggested, you probably want him to go on the aggressive half of the unit, because the defensive half probably doesn't need his leadership buff, and his extra attack, particularly when packing something like a Demon Hammer, will come in pretty handy. What I will suggest though is that if you are going to split them up, make the dude who stays back either completely blank or give him a warding stave, because it gives them a little bit of protection from psychers sniping them round corners. Just something to think about. And the unit may then take a Rhino or Razorback as a dedicated transport. If you're going to stick together, a Rhino is probably the best way to go. If you're going to split, give the attacking half a Razorback and let the defensive half camp. They don't have the ability to shoot round corners. In the past, I feel like they could shoot round corners. Not anymore. Night vision is handy, but obviously not all that useful. You have no way to give yourself ignores cover unless you have a librarian around. The other option with Purgation is actually to use them as basically another Incinerator bomb. Not that you need it, with Interceptors, Purifiers, Terminators. You have enough aggressive units with Incinerator options. But if you really want to turn into a Sister of Battle for 10 minutes, you can easily give them 4 Incinerators with the Justicar, throw them in a Razorback and let loose. I don't think it'd work, but it's an option nonetheless. Then we have the first of the big daddy monstrous creatures. This was the origin of the Riptide and the Wraith Knight. Without this, They don't exist, I would say. And it's the Nemesis Dread Knight, or the Baby Carrier. It is 130 points, and its stats are monstrous creature typical. Weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 4, strength toughness 6 with 4 wounds, initiative 4, 3 attacks, leadership 10, and a 2+ save. The only reason this is good is because it has a 2+ save. That's it. If it had a 3+ save, I would say this thing was quite bad. You get 1 in a unit, and it comes with 2 power fists as stock, which is okay, I guess. That will, of course, does it put your initiative to 1? I'm not sure. It has the Aegis, They Shall Know No Fear, Preferred Enemy Demons Mastery Level 1 Psyker, and Purity of Spirit. It also has Deep Strike built in, and it has a 5+ invuln save as stock. So it's a giant 4-wound Terminator. Okay? It's a giant 4-wound Terminator, which is not bad. As a level 1, it knows Banishment, of course, and it also knows Sanctuary. Now, you might think, well, why not just have something more offensive than that? Well, Sanctuary gives you a 4-up invuln, and that's really good. Like, toughness 6 with a 2-up save and then a 4-up invuln in case. That's really good. Like, half nullifying Plasma and Melter, that's damn good. And it's far better than a 5+, trust me. Like, a Carapace armor on Guardsman over Flak armor was insane. And 4-up invuln over 5-up invuln is damn good. He may take a personal teleporter, which we discussed in the last episode. It's 30 points, turns him into a jump monstrous creature, and gives him the option to perform a shunt move in any time in the game up to 30 inches. Again, as I discussed with Interceptors, there's 2 main ways to do it. Very aggressively, i.e. as part of the Nemesis detachment, deep strikes on turn 1, but he stays on the board, so he's guaranteed to get a shunt and drop his special weapons, because he has some very nasty special weapons, which we'll talk about in a minute. Or you can use him late game as an objective capper / contester. He won't overscore troops, but he will easily contest any other objective and score anything that's empty on the far side of the board, or if needs be, he can just clean any objective out with some of his weapons. So the personal teleporter, it's rather expensive to give him a glorified jump pack, but it's probably worth it. He may take up to 2 weapons, but each weapon can only be taken once, so you can't have 2 of anything. You have this Heavy Incinerator for 20 points, the Gatling Silencer for 30, and the Heavy Side Cannon for 35. And we're going to have a look at what those weapons do right now. The Heavy Side Cannon has 2 fire modes. It is 24-inch range in both modes, strength 7, AP 4 in both cases, and it's rending. The focused mode is Salvo 3/6, and the area saturation mode is a Piplate, heavy 1 large blast. Which is better? It depends. Then that's something you've got to consider. Like, the salvo weapon will be really useful for chugging through vehicles or pinging off monster creature wounds because it's a high strength and it's rending. The area saturation will be good against anything that resembles infantry. The Gatling Silencer is also 24-inch range, strength 4, AP nothing, heavy 12, force. So if you put force on, this thing has got 12 shots, strength 4, AP nothing, instant death. That's pretty good. You've got to remember to put force on, and this is why I don't rate the Silencer all that much. So I don't think it's all that good, but it's there as an option against lightly armored infantry. I'm looking at Orc Knobs is a particularly good example, but I don't rate it all that highly. The Heavy Incinerator is a strength 6 AP 4 Torrent Soul Blaze Flamer. It's basically the same as the normal Incinerator, except against Torrent. This is what makes the Dread Knight so good at cleaning out objectives, because you can teleport him and then drop on a Soul Blaze Torrent Flamer at strength 6. It's not AP 3, but good grief, it's strong at cleaning out anything short of a Space Marine or anything relying on something that looks like a cover save. It's really good for that, and the Soul Blaze means that even if it doesn't kill much at once, it's still got the chance to do this ongoing damage, which is kind of handy. If I was going for the objective clear-out method, I would run a Heavy Incinerator every time. I would also probably consider a Heavy Side Cannon if I had the points, because they are 35 points to take the Side Cannon, 20 points for the Incinerator. Is it worth it? The Incinerator is good for clearing out, and the Side Cannon is good for everything else. If you're not going for the Teleporter, don't bother with the Incinerator. Unless you're maybe considering deep striking, but I don't think that's possibly the best way to do it. They are expensive though. Alternatively, you're allowed to change one Power Fist, so you're still able to take one special weapon. One Power Fist may be exchanged for a Nemesis Demon Hammer, which is just a Thunder Hammer with Force, or, and that's 5 points, or a Nemesis Great Sword, which is 10 points, and is scary as hell. So, compared to your Power Fist, you go from times 2 strength AP2, melee, specialist weapon, unwieldy, to times 2 strength AP2, melee, force, demon bane, as is any nemesis weapon, master crafted, specialist weapon. So of course, what that means is if you cast force, you re-roll to wound and armor penetration rolls against models with the demon special rule, which is kind of handy. Yeah, it's really scary. The Nemesis Greatsword, because it doesn't drop your initiative. That, I think, is the point I have to make. It does not drop your initiative to 1, meaning that you will go on a murder spree. Which, the fact there's only 10 points makes me think that Power Fists don't drop your initiative either. But I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Anyway, yeah, the Nemesis Greatsword is really good. And if you really need to clean a unit out, the Incinerator presents the original threat, but your opponent then has to deal with it because the Nemesis Greatsword is so good at carving through everything. Like, you don't even have to put force on, and it will massacre everything short of a monster. Even with force on, it's instant death. It's terrifying. So you have to be really careful around a Greatsword. It's damn good. Okay. Would I consider swapping it out for a second special weapon? Depends on the build I wanted. I can often see using Dread Knights as giant dreadnoughts for fire support, packing a side cannon and just a Power Fist, just to add more fire support to the army, which is something that I think Grey Knights maybe have an issue with, and we'll discuss that in the next episode, I think. Overall, Dread Knights are nice and versatile, obviously designed to go and punch things in the face, but I think it's pretty good and you can use it in a variety of ways. Give it a teleporter for maximum hilarity and nonsense, but it's not absolutely essential. And then we come to Land Raiders. There are 3 of them, obviously. The classic Land Raider is the one we'll talk about first. It's 250 points, which I think is more than normal Space Marines. And it is Ballistic Skill 4, Armor 14, or round with 4 hull points, as you'd expect. It's a tank, transport vehicle with a twin-linked heavy bolter, 2 twin-linked lance cannons, a searchlight, and smoke launchers. It is an assault vehicle with power of the machine spirit. It has no fire points and a transport capacity of 10. So if you want a 5-man squad and a character for Terminators, no, won't fit. Which is the only downside, I think, to the main Land Raider. It is really lacking on transport. It has 1 access point on each side of the hull and 1 at the front. Remember, when you get out, you can assault. So this is a very good, if somewhat slow, Paladin delivery system. It's tough, it's resilient, it won't die to much, and it will just do a ton of damage. And when it gets up the board, hello, Paladin smack. But beware the low transport capacity. If transport is an issue, we can talk about the later Land Raiders. But before we do that, you may take a multi-melter for 10 points. I see absolutely no reason why you wouldn't. It protects one of your lance cannons maybe for a weapon destroyed result. It takes longer before you get immobilized by a weapon destroyed result. And gives you a bit more anti-tank, which is what this Land Raider is designed to do. And then you may take items from the Grey Knights vehicle equipment list, which we touched on in the last episode, but we'll just recap it quickly. You cannot take the Dozer Blade because you're a Land Raider, but you may take a Storm Bolter. For the reasons I've mentioned about the multi-melter, it's maybe handy to have. Extra armor, downgrade stun to shaken. If you're using it as a delivery system, go for it. Hunter Killer Missile, maybe. But I think the only one there that I'd probably consider probable is the Storm Bolter. It's 5 points, it gives you an extra weapon, it's kind of handy, and you can make use of it. It protects you from immobilized if nothing else. Now, as I said, transport capacity is only 10. If that is an issue, which it may well be, you may want to consider the Land Raider Crusader, which also costs 250 points. It is the same stats, but it has a twin-linked assault cannon, 2 hurricane bolters, which are 3 sets of twin-linked bolters each, so you have 6 twin-linked bolters in 2 racks. Frag assault launchers, which I'm not actually sure what frag assault launchers do. I think it gives assaulting units that assault out of it frag grenades, which is kind of why it's good on Terminators, because they don't have it. I'll just go and try and find it. Frag assault launchers, here we go. Any unit charging into close combat on the same turn as disembarks from a Land Raider, Crusader, or Redeemer counts as having frag grenades. Yeah, it's mainly used, I think, on things like Terminators who don't often have frag grenades. I think, anyway. I can't remember whether Terminators actually do have them. They actually do. I think every unit in this army has frag grenades. So, what? What? That's useless. Frag assault launchers in this one are basically useless because all your models have frag grenades anyway. But oh well, it's a thing you'd probably forget about anyway. I know I would. Searchlight smoke launchers, assault vehicle power of the machine spirit, and a transport capacity of 16. This means you can fit 7 Terminator armed models and a character, or 2 power armor characters, 1 Terminator armored character, in there. That is devastating and makes an even better delivery system for medium-sized unit plus character. Like, just Terminator squad plus character. That's now a really efficient delivery system, and you won't have to worry if you're doing it for a non-Terminator squad. Like, 10 Purifiers plus Castellan Crow wouldn't fit the normal Land Raider. They'll fit the Crusader. It has no fire points as before, 1 access point on each side of the hull and 1 at the front. May take a multi-melter for 10 points. Now, the Crusader is not designed to kill tanks. It's carrying an assault cannon, which is strength 6 rending, but the multi-melter is probably less necessary here. I may take items from the vehicle equipment list. The Storm Bolter is probably quite good because it basically gives you another 2 bolter shots, and the extra armor. This is a very short-ranged one, but not as short-ranged as the next one, so debatable whether you want it. And then we have the Redeemer. This is 10 points less for the objective reason that it's incredibly short-ranged. Same stats, 4 hull points, 4 ballistic skill, 14 all-round, tank transport with twin assault cannon and 2 flamestorm cannons. Now, flamestorm cannons, I don't even know if they put them in what they are in this codex. I don't actually think they did. No, they didn't. From my memory, they are strength 6, AP 3 torrent. I think that's right. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. It could just be not torrent, but it's really good nonetheless for clearing things out. Frag assault launchers, searchlight smoke launchers, assault vehicle power of the machine spirit, transport capacity of 12. This means you can get the 5 guys plus character combo for Terminator, which probably makes it the best paladin delivery system because it can clean out the hordes that are in the way and allow the paladins to go for the absolutely lethal target. So I think the Redeemer is the best paladin transport system. Has no fire points, 1 access point each side, 1 at the front, same as before, and it may take a multi-melter. Even more so than the Crusader, you don't probably need this because you don't have any anti-tank guns on this thing. Vehicle equipment, you may want to consider the extra armor. Because it's so short-ranged, getting stunned on an early turn is a disaster, and you will probably want to, well, not be stunned. So, just something to consider. And that's the heavy support section in all its glory. So in review quickly, the Purgation squads are less versatile than normal Devastators, but they will do a lot of work for you and are probably, if you want them to be full-sized, then you can because of Combat Squad and use a Razorback. Otherwise, keep them with side cannons and silencers and gang them up in a corner. Night Vision will hopefully come and help you out. The Dread Knight, it's a big, beat sticky monstrous creature. It will probably get beaten by some monstrous creatures if you don't equip it right. Like if you don't give it a great sword or a demon hammer, it may lose a few fights because it just doesn't have the I don't know, the output because it doesn't have force basically. If you don't want to use it that way, a teleporter is a lot of fun, and an incinerator with the teleporter and deep strike is devastating. Never forget to cast Sanctuary on either. The 4-up involved will do you a lot of work. Land Raiders, the basic Land Raider is the best anti-tank fire support you've got in your army with the possible exception of the Storm Raven, but it's low on transport, which means it's not as good for anything other than small squads of paladins or things not including characters. The Crusader is a fantastic unit bomb delivery system. Like it can carry 7 Terminators and a character or just 8 Terminators, which is really, really good. But this army has a lot of anti-infantry, so you probably don't need its guns all that much. And the Redeemer, see everything I said about the Crusader, but with less transport capacity, but better guns. The guns are much shorter ranged, but they will chew through everything. Like Marines in cover, dead. Anything of a horde in your way, dead. Now my unit can get through, and they have the right transport size that you don't feel like you're putting too small of a unit in there when you put 6 guys in. I say 6, it is 12, but most things that you're going to put in here are in Terminator armor. And that's the whole heavy support section. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Next time, we'll be looking at the Lord of War and the formation, as well as getting my final thoughts on Codex Grey Knights. Thank you very much for watching. Please make sure to leave a like on this video, leave any comments down below, and subscribe. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis, and until the next time, I'll see you all again, folks.